Run! Go! Get to the Jibber Jabber!
Hey Valerie! It's on Apple Podcasts and Podomatic! Freaking awesome!
Ladies and gentlemen, it is May the 4th, so you know what that means. May the 4th be with you. So we're giving you a special episode today. I am joined today, as always, with J-Mac. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And for a special treat for you guys on official Star Wars Day, we have a fantastic guest, Misty Rosas. She is a stunt actress who played Kuill in the Mandalorian season on Disney Plus. Not only that, but exactly. Not only that though, she's had quite a really cool career in stunt acting. So she's been in stuff from Jingle All the Way to Monster House to J-Mac's favourite. Tell him.
Yeah, my favourite ever film about killer gorillas. Killer gorillas? That's hard to say. Killer gorillas. Congo.
Yeah, man. So this is going to be a treat for us, but it's also going to be a treat for you guys. Thanks always for listening and giving us all those shares that you never give us. Now I'm kidding. I see the stats.
He sees the stats. Kevin,
Yeah.
do you see the stats?
Always seeing the stats. So
Oh,
thanks
look,
very
what's
much.
that up
Guys.
there? That's the stats.
That's the stats. So yeah, thanks very much for always backing us, for tuning in, for downloading our episodes. We really appreciate that. So today on May the 4th, we are going to give this treat to you guys, and Misty will always be welcome on this Jibber Jabber podcast, especially when she's in season 2. Fingers crossed, right? Wink, wink, please.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. And in this episode, before we play our interview with I wouldn't say interview, it's a conversation.
Yes.
Because that's what friends do. We conversate.
Good
In this we conversate, J-Mac. Right? I make up the words in this podcast.
Yes,
Thanks.
you do.
Right?
Yes,
we
you do.
we conversate. So see, now you're trying to make me lose my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. Get your thought trained.
Ready? So, for anybody that doesn't know, J-Mac is only halfway through the Mandalorian season on Disney Plus, and in this episode, when we're conversating with Misty, I suppose it is me that kind of drops the bomb that Kuill gets shot by a stormtrooper. So, for anybody listening that didn't know that, you should have watched it by now. Right? And that goes for you too, J-Mac. I'm not even sorry that I ruined it. Right? Misty and I are just like, yeah, it's a shame that the first time a stormtrooper actually shot someone, it happened to be me. Jordan's sitting there like, what? Quill's not dead. Quill's not dead.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, so this has been a hell of an episode for us. We've just had our conversation with Misty, so we're gonna play that for you guys right now.
I have spoken.
Okay, so on the Jibber Jabber podcast is the fantastic Misty Rosas.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
How are you doing in lockdown?
I'm good. I'm a yogi, so I've been practicing for a long time, since like 2001. So I think the most important thing that teaches you is to just roll with it. This is what it is in this moment. How can you make it as positive as possible to maintain your heart and head health? So lots of yoga in my room, and just writing and doing podcasts and interviews and sending a lot of Tops stickers.
Yeah, I can always see on social media that you're with your fans, you spend a lot of time reaching out back to them when they reach out to you. It's one of the nice things. That's why I thought she would be great to have a conversation with on the podcast, because I saw that you embrace your fans, which is obviously nice to see. I think with regards to lockdown, the best way for us to kind of get through it is when we come out the other side of it, if we're like, here's what I achieved while I was in lockdown, rather than here's what I'm going to do when I get out. I think maybe if we had that attitude, it'd be a lot more positivity at least coming out in the world.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. It's just take care of yourself right now, rest, because I feel like when they open everything, it is just gonna be this like
Yes.
area of people like, and they're just getting worn out again because like they do to try to do everything that they wanted to do all at once. So it's just
Yeah.
like
On
pace
on the
yourself.
on the subject of you being a yogi, am I right in saying that it's Bikram yoga that you do?
Yeah, actually, I teach Bikram. I practice it usually on the days that I teach, but I also I live far away from where I teach, so I do more of an Ashtanga flow practice as well, especially right now in the house. So
Yeah.
there's not, I couldn't possibly get enough heat going. So
Yeah. What's that? Is it like 100 degrees, 100 and something?
it depends. It depends on the studio. Some are really hardcore about the heat, and it's like 100 and 104, 106. But at the studio where I teach, she's always kind of, yeah, we have it heated, but I feel, and it's my same belief system too, where you want everybody to be able to hang in there and do all of the postures. But if they get too hot, they just start dropping. And so it's like, so, she keeps it, I think, around 95, 200. But then in the summer, totally different game, especially in my class, I teach at 12:30. And she has these beautiful windows on the back wall, and the sun like shines right through. And it's like all of my students are on the left and the right. Every once in a while, there's a hardcore couple that are like, I'm gonna do this in the sun. It's like, are you sure? So, because I've done that too, and it's like, ooh, it's a whole nother level of hot.
Ah.
Yeah, I've tried yoga. I've tried yoga a couple of times. I've never tried hot yoga, but yeah, normal yoga nearly killed me. So I think hot yoga would probably do it.
Um, I swear by it though. I swear it's really the one thing that's helped to kind of heal my body from all the stunt work and then the costume work. And Kuill definitely, he was heavy, heavy, and so
Wow.
it really did a number on my shoulders, my spine, and my hips. So it's like, in order to rehabilitate that and heal that, it's got to be yoga every day for a while. So I'm okay right now. I'm like, I'm healing the body.
Oh, good.
So,
So yeah. So what actually? So how did you? I mean, stunt acting. It's not something that you would see advertised in a newspaper. So for you, what got you into stunt acting?
I was a gymnast. I started gymnastics when I was 2.5. And I trained as a gymnast all the way up to the elite level, until I was 17. So took a little break and then went back to it for a few more years for college. And then the coach that trained me when I was in the elite program, the production company, Congo, they approached him and asked, they were obviously looking for people that were under 5 feet with tremendous body strength, especially upper body strength, to be able to handle being quadruped, which means on all fours. So he knew that at the time, too, I had already been working at Disneyland and doing costume work and dancing in the different shows. And so he's like, why don't you try for this? I mean, you're the right height, the right body type, and you've also had costume work experience. So, you should audition for this. I didn't know what I was auditioning for, but it's like, yeah, sure, let's do this. And
Yeah.
so it was just one of those things where it felt like luck and knowing the right people and being at the right place at the right time. But it was also a lifetime of training that also I had
Yeah.
with me going in. So
So it's like the stars aligned then, and that
they
job
did
found
it.
you. So it's like a match made in heaven almost.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
did you have to take in like in account new types of training? I know that I had maybe done a couple of years in professional wrestling, and the first thing they teach you for like the first 3 years is break falls. So I take it with I don't know because I've never done any kind of gymnastics. Do you learn how to fall and do all that through gymnastics, or did you have to learn that separately?
Yes, I mean, it's not, yeah, I mean, it's for me, as you grow up and stuff, doing it, you definitely learn techniques. And then also, you don't mean to, but I started taking some seriously hard falls when I remember I was about 8 years old, and just like doing like a back tuck on beam, and my feet were too far to the left, and so I just slid off, landed on my right quad, and flipped over. And it happens really fast, like
Oh.
so yeah, I mean, because of gymnastics and learning, doing timers and stuff for different types of skills, you do learn how to fall through it. So
Mhm.
and
Well, that's
flipping and twisting, I have air awareness. So
One thing I did notice when I was looking through it was like a show reel I had seen on YouTube, which doesn't actually get highlighted a lot because I always refer to stunt men and women as stunt actors. Because one thing, there was a scene where you were on a bed with someone, and I think it was for, I don't know if it was a music video, but you kind of gazing into the fellow's eyes, and you're pulled away, and it kind of made me think, well, you're not just a body in place of someone else's character. You're actually becoming that character and almost speaking through their body language. And did you have to develop that yourself, or did that just come naturally to you?
well, that was actually for the music video, like the first big one that I shot, called Panic Button. And I been in belts and stuff again for gymnastics and learning how to do some of the harder skills, like things off of bars, release moves off of bars and stuff. So I've always known how to do that. But Matt, who was the actor, he'd never done anything like that before. But he comes from a football background, so he's like game for any of it. And you do the first few times, it's like they'll take your weight so you can get familiar with feeling that, and then they'll yank you gently, and then they'll try a little harder, and it's like, okay, this is the real thing. And so you just get a feel for it. And then
Yeah.
one of my closest friends, Nancy Thurston, who's like an award-winning stunt woman, she was our coordinator, so I knew he was in good hands with her, and she just was really gentle and informative, and we took care of him, because he also I told him we could get a double, but he really, really wanted to do the high fall, and it was a 40-foot high fall.
Yeah.
And so I made sure that I put enough time in, like a couple of months in, for him to be able to take the steps to be able to do that. Because from like this one tier that I think is about 25, maybe 30 feet, then suddenly goes up to 40. That last 10 feet, I kid you not, like you're up there, and in the wind it sways.
Oh.
So when people haven't been up there, the first time they go up there, you have them go up with people, just a couple of them, and just have them sit and just get comfortable, because there's nothing above you, so you feel like it doesn't feel super stable. So but yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced that one time. It was just I think it was maybe a 30-foot kind of free fall experience, but you're on a cable, you're on a wire, and you just have to jump, and it just lets you go down quite slowly. But when you're standing at the top, it does sway, and it throws your whole perspective of everything off, and you think, I'm just going to die now. And
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of those things. Imagine trying to stay composed. It's like you see those things at the theme parks. It's like a ball, and you can sit in, and then there's these bungee ropes at the side, and then the magnet lets go, and the ball like just flies into there. I can't imagine, like, I mean, that's how like stunt actresses and actors like yourself work in those kind of environments. And how do you stay composed in that kind of, as that's happening?
Again, it comes from my training as a gymnast, where your heart is pounding, and it just depends on the stunt. Usually I don't sleep a lot the night before, because knowing whatever it is that would be doing, I'm constantly in my head thinking of all the scenarios that could go wrong, and how I would get myself out of those. And so I feel like I, when I come to set, I've done so much work of, it's like, okay, let's erase that, what you would do in that scenario, but that's not going to happen. So let's just focus on doing it. But yeah, there's been moments where my heart's pounding and like, just breathe and let's ride this out.
You never assume that the way when when you see like the behind the scenes takes and stuff, you see all the stunt men and women. You never take into account that, well, as much as it's your job and as much as you're very well, you're trained in it, you're still human at the end of the day. You probably forget how insecure sometimes you can feel, just like any other human about to jump off a bridge or in the middle of a car stunt.
Yeah, it's
So
the adrenaline, and it's like,
yeah.
there, just breathe, and yeah.
So you've done
Yeah.
many. You've done a lot of movies actually. And I saw that you had played a part in Jingle All the Way also, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas movie. So what are some of your favorite projects that you worked on? And whenever I ask this question sometimes to actors or actresses, I find that a lot of the time it's the least ones you expect. You get the big high blockbusters, and then you'll get a smaller project, but there's always something that's personal from a smaller project. I find that you tend to see. So what would some of your highlights be for you so far in your stunt acting career?
Yeah, it is absolutely what you said, where there are these really thrilling moments on these big blockbuster movies, but there's also, these smaller films that I got to do and, be in prosthetics and get to act and do stunts all at once. One of them for sure was called Room 6. That one with Christine Taylor. It was it was really, really cool because, at the time, and I should have just taken a picture later, but I played a demon, and looking at prosthetics and stuff, it looked really masculine, and yet the character that I played was just a sweet little church lady, but this demon embodied her for a second. And so just looking at its face and stuff, character wise, like, there's a lot of male energy, and I just messed with her. It's like you reveal me, and I'm looking right at Christine, and I just did some stuff, and my mom's like, "How could you do that?" Like, I stuck my tongue out at her, and then later in post they added and made the tongue even longer, which was really cool. And then I just go out after her, and I literally flew all over this church. Like, I flew over her, and then I jumped over pews and hit the back and pushed and off and came down, and then kind of crawled at her, and then started walking at her, and then went right at her, and then it was like a nightmare sequence that she had, and it was just cool, and again, it was for a smaller film, but I had the best time. So I've never done anything evil like that. So it was really fun to be able to play and to do things that I wouldn't normally do to anybody.
Yeah. I think stunt actors and stunt performers, sometimes they're not forgotten about, but I don't think they get the recognition that they deserve when it comes to award season. Do you think that there should be an Oscar for stunt performance?
I think so. If you look at any trailers for, films and TV and stuff, The Mandalorian included, it's all the action, the exciting stuff. So I feel like, an ensemble of, the stunt coordinator and the people that, did the stunt work, they definitely should get a nod, because it's the action. It's,
We've been saying that for some time on this podcast, that it is quite a shame that they're not forgotten about, of course, because it's part of what makes the movie special. But I just think, for every Leonardo DiCaprio, there's a team of people behind him making that character come to life just as much as he is. So I think it would be really nice to see all the award ceremonies, recognize that. So that, who knows? We're in this world, anything can change, as you can see this from what's happening right now. So I would like to, I'd like to see that happen, because it would be quite amazing.
Yeah, it would be really nice. Actually, one of my roommates that I live with, he is an award-winning stuntman, and he was on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he was part of the huge fire burn scene, and he's this seasoned, amazing stuntman, Mark Wagner, and they knew that he could take it. So it's like when they aimed with the fire gun, they aimed him, and he was just you didn't see him. It was just fire. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, not a bad roommate to have then, eh?
Yeah.
Sitting over breakfast. So what you doing today? Jumping into fire.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Body burn. I did one for Van Helsing, and I didn't tell my mom. So I didn't tell her what I was up to that day, because usually when she knows I'm working on something, she'll call every morning. It's like, hey, honey, how are you? What are you doing today? And it's like, I'm not sure yet. And I knew what I was doing, but I knew that she was at work, and she doesn't she can't focus or breathe until I call her back and say, I'm fine. So
Yeah.
then that afternoon, after we had done it, she's like, so how was your day? I was like, it was good, it was gnarly. She's like, why, what'd you do? And I was like, I did fire burns today. And she's like, how'd you do that?
It's funny. I mean, most people when they leave for work, somebody will say, drive safe. I mean, how do you say get set on fire safely?
Exactly.
God.
That was one that we were on Van Helsing, and that's one of the blockbuster movies that I really enjoyed. It was just cool. The sets were huge, and it was one of those Star Wars that's you walk on set and you're like, oh my god, I'm here.
So when you walk on set, do you instantly get that? Because we've never been on a set yet. One day we will, but we've never been on set yet. And I always imagine it'd be like, I heard that when they had started filming for the Force Awakens, that the minute that Han Solo and Chewbacca stood on the on the Millennium Falcon, that the whole crew just stopped, because it was such an awe to be there with those guys, and such a momentous scene. So when you walk onto a set, do you feel that same kind of energy, like that you're actually part of the movie? Like, do you suspend your disbelief?
Yeah, it's I always I get butterflies in my stomach, and there's excitement depending on the day, depending on what I'm doing. It's always super, it's just fun, and I feel grateful every time I get the opportunity to be on a set. I don't take it for granted. I show up and I'm here. I'm like, okay, what are we doing? Let's do this. So yeah, it is amazing. Star Wars was one of those, and sometimes, they will have different units shooting in sometimes 3 different places. And I remember one day, my unit, they were a little behind, so have time. So it's like, well, I'm just gonna trek over and see what they're doing elsewhere. And sometimes I don't like to do that, because I want to be surprised when the show comes out, when because you don't know, you only know what is going on in your scripts, you don't know what's going on in the other ones. So but it's always fun to walk on there, and it's like, whoa, in the dome when the Razor Crest is in there. And the first time I saw it go into, what is it, hyperspace, it was insane. It was like, ah!
Yeah. So that's when the fan comes out. So I take it you're a Star Wars fan at heart.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I can't imagine anybody working on a Star Wars project that doesn't have that Star Wars, in their heart. I just couldn't imagine it. Probably does happen though. The coffee guy, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, when my agent got my deal memo, I was driving somewhere, and because we had been waiting, I had done my audition. I didn't know what I was auditioning for. And then finally they did send the deal memo to her, and she's like, I just got your deal memo. Where are you? I was like, I'm driving. She's like, you might want to pull over. I was like, okay, why? She's like, I'm sending you something. And then I opened it and, looked at it and scrolled down to the bottom and it says Star Wars. I'm like,
Yes.
It was such a crazy moment. I'm by myself in Los Angeles in my car, just parked on the street, and just crying. My mom's like, guess what? So she's like, oh my god. And then my younger brothers, because they're huge Star Wars fans, they're like, she made it, finally, she made it.
So the costume.
You did.
the Kuill costume itself, you said it was very heavy. I mean, how bad was it? Or was it really uncomfortable, or was it just hard work for a short time?
I don't like to complain because I'm the one that is choosing
Yeah.
this and choosing to do it. It was heavy. It was really, it was very heavy. I didn't weigh it because it didn't matter. It wasn't going to be like, oh, well, it weighs this much. Forget it. I'm not doing it. So I was just like, okay, handle this. And my first fitting with Legacy, I get an idea of what this is going to be like. And it's, silicone. So once the mouth closes, I have no air. There is nothing coming in. So it's just like, whew, it would get really hot. And it's just, you just handle it. After my first fitting, I was like, was leaving and going, okay, I need to up my cardio and I need to do way more squats and, a ton of core work, because that is where, the weight would go. It was like on my shoulders, but it's my stomach that had to be really, really super strong in my legs to, keep it up. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And I just remember one time on set, Brendan, who is, one of the Mandos, and he's like, your eyes, like, he turned me over and he was trying to do like a Casanova, like, kiss moment. And first I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And then, like, he didn't realize how heavy it was. Like, at me, but we went a little bit. I'm like, no.
I'd love to see that outtake.
And the backpack that I wore, that contained all of the, electronics and stuff, and then there were a ton of wires right behind my neck. And my puppeteers would try to like spread them as much as they could so I could move my neck a little bit, but it was a lot.
Wow.
So, but again, I was so grateful and I love what I do. So, I just don't really, I don't want to, no negativity at all for me. It's just like, just handle it, miss. Just handle it.
So with Nick Nolte, who actually looks like Quill, by the way, you can actually see his features in the mask. There's definitely his features there, but he voiced Quill. Did you have to say his lines, or did you have someone else? Did they shout the lines and you kind of respond to them, or how was it that they done the dialogue?
I was lucky. I mean, I've done this type of work before where I've worked at the Jim Henson Company for a long time, and we create, it basically puppets, but they're digital puppets. And I have puppeteers, and they'll do the dialogue, and I'm, they're the voice and the facial animation, and I'm the body, and then we fuse that together in real time. And that's the same process on, the Mandalorian, where fortunately, John had Nick record all of his lines ahead of time. Sometimes I would get them the night before, if I was lucky, but most of the time I would get them that morning. And but as for me too, I was always off book with, the scenes and stuff and the lines. Like, I would go in, and our first rehearsals in the morning, the private ones with just John and Dave or Rick or Deb, and just the cast, like, I would be him and I would say the lines and stuff. And then when we would, then I'd run over to my crew, and sometimes they would try to get in there to be able to see the flow of scenes and stuff and what I was doing when I was saying lines and stuff, so they can kind of get an idea too of when to trigger the dialogue track. So after that rehearsal, I would race right to the big rig, where everything, Quill's face and head and everything like that. And then I would listen, to the dialogue, and Nick Nolte gave me usually 2 to 3 different takes and different versions of each line. And then after, during rehearsal, we would kind of get an idea of what sounded good. And then I would choose, and they would put them together, and the director would come and listen to what it, was sounding like. And he'd either say, no, try that line and, this way. And so then we would fix it, and then I'd listen to it all the way through a few times, and then usually our first couple of takes were sometimes a little wonky as we were getting our flow together and our timing, and of them knowing when we would want certain lines. I would always try to give them some sort of, I don't know, physical cue, or tell them like, okay, on this line I'm gonna start moving. It's hard to explain. Like, it's something that you just kind of have to see, and then we would just get in a flow, especially by like take 3 or so. And and then all 4 of us all came together and just into one Kuill. So
Yeah. And what a well done job as well. Kuill was one of those characters that automatically, the audience is going to take to and love, like almost like a fathery kind of figure. The character that wants the best for everything that he's surrounded with. However, I think you may be the first character ever to be shot by a stormtrooper successfully. There is something you can put on a t-shirt.
Right.
Have you ever seen a stormtrooper shoot at something and actually?
I haven't. Thanks, Kevin. He just spoiled it for me again.
Jordan hasn't watched the
all of it
yet. He was a bit late getting to Disney Plus.
Oh,
Sent me on. It was on YouTube. It was a lot of different podcasters. What their reactions to episode 7. And at the very end of it, one gentleman is like, the one time they didn't miss.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's something that I think only you hold, so you can wear that badge of honor now.
Right? Yes.
Oh. I mean, I suppose it would. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, and it takes a character, but hey, yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was hard. It was very hard to say goodbye to him on my last day. My last day was like doing a lot of the photos and stuff for the campaign work, and it's like I took it off, and it's like, that's it, he's done. It's like, no. So I've never been a character that's died that like I really had such an affinity with, so it was hard. It was really hard to say goodbye to him. So
have you had that before with your previous roles, even in Congo or Instinct, things like that? More costume work, but the last time you take the costume off, do you get that kind of sad feeling?
Yes, yeah, it is. It's always because you do, you develop an affinity with these characters, and yeah, it is. It's really hard. It's like having like a final goodbye to someone that you really love and care about. It's like, oh. So, I did, it's a little television series for Netflix called Word Party. And I play Lulu, and she's a little panda.
My son loves that.
Yeah. She's all sass and and it is like our last day, it's like people are crying, and it was brutal too, because the last day, the last thing we were doing was a song, and it was a number song for the little ones, and it went from 5 to 1, and so it was like, after the person who did number 5, then they're wrapped by, and so it just kept getting smaller and smaller, and it was the last one. It's like, no. It's crazy, and you just sometimes you just never know if they're gonna do another season, so it's it's like, bye.
Yeah.
The good thing about Mandalorian is, and your character, you were in a suit, so there's nothing to say that you couldn't work again on the Mandalorian in many different capacities. I don't know if you would be able to tell us. Will you yourself be working again with the Mandalorian series?
I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything just yet. So, but
that's not a no.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not a no, but it's not a yes.
I'll take it. That's good. So, I mean, you were obviously on set with some amazing people to work with. I imagine Jon Favreau. I take it he was there when you were shooting, and I did see that Matt Lucas, George Lucas was on set for a lot of it. Was George Lucas around as well at the same time?
Yeah, I believe George Lucas was there, and Steven Spielberg was there.
Wow.
Kathleen Kennedy was there. Just all
Wow.
of these amazing people. I never got to really chat, or be around them, especially when I was working. Because it was one of those jobs where, there's part of me that wishes that I could not screw around, but have
Hmm.
more fun.
Yeah.
But I conserved every ounce of energy that I had,
Yeah.
to, just do my job and stuff. And a lot of times, like, I had my contacts in, and it was just like, stay still, conserve your energy, put drops in your eyeballs. And, sometimes those would water. So my guys would have to put the makeup on a lot underneath my eyes and on
Mhm.
my eyelids. So, yeah, he was. Quill is high maintenance.
Wow. Another one
Yes.
been high maintenance is Baby Yoda. You spent a lot of time with the Baby Yoda, the child.
Mhm.
So did you actually get like a soft toy, or was that just CGI?
No, he's a puppet too.
Oh, all right.
He is there. So, and he's heavy. In the chase scenes at the end for chapter 7, I was holding him in my left arm. My bicep muscle, it would hurt for like a week
Oh, wow.
because like of course I have a death grip on him because
Yeah.
it was that rig was moving super fast. And I kind of shifted to my right just in case I did lose my balance, that I wouldn't fall on him. But yeah, so I had like death grip on him and then the reins, and I'm trying to squeeze onto that rig as hard as I could to stay on it. And it's like it was intense. It was crazy. So, but yes, I love the baby.
Oh, I actually started watching The Mandalorian myself, and my daughter, who's 2, she started watching it because she had seen Quail and Baby Yoda, and that's what started her with like, oh wow, Baby Yoda, and she did see Quail lying there in the sand, and she was quite upset to see just to see
Mhm.
such a to see such a character die,
I
and
know.
then she's 2, so that resonated with her,
Oh,
so that's
yeah. That was hard because I have, a family that literally we became super close friends. They were from the UK. They moved over here for a while. And so I grew up with their boys, and their boys are, I want to say, 6 and 10 now. So they're just like they are Star Wars age. And they, obviously they saw chapter 8 yesterday because it was streaming for them later. And, Friday
Mhm.
was their last one. And of course, like, I didn't want to spoil anything, but, talking with other friends of mine here who had young boys that just were going nuts over it. And then watching chapter 7, I was getting a lot of messages like, my son, he is inconsolable right now. So they were really upset, and it broke my heart because I remember feeling that way and not necessarily understanding why, being a little bit too young. But the Empire Strikes Back, that was traumatic for me. And, all of them. I was too young for Star Wars, but I remember Empire Strikes Back, and there was crying, and then there was crying too in The Return of the Jedi. So
Yeah,
I know what that feels like to Star Wars, the way that they write it, and what it's about, and the Force, and everything, and the good versus the evil, and all of that. Like, children, especially, I think, because they operate on such a present moment, they really identify with it, and they really, really feel it. So
yeah.
yeah, that was hard for me. And my friend Bev's like, yeah, there were tears. Thank you for giving me a that was like just I just all I said was like, it is this amazing but very emotional chapter. So, keep Austin and Henry close to you. So
Yeah.
the,
yeah,
the
that was a bit much for them.
the world of the world of movies is really quite brutal to kids sometimes. I mean, Kevin and I grew up watching the Never Ending Story, and
Mm,
the scene where the horse dies. I mean, It didn't affect me too much when I was a kid, but we watched it last year. We screened it at a local cinema, and I heard my sister, who's 30 years old, crying behind me, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to cry." So
yeah.
it's crazy just how cruel it can be.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I shouldn't have seen some of the movies that I saw when I saw them. Like I wish, because a friend of mine, his girls have done what they did on Friends with the character Phoebe, where the mom like only showed her a certain part of the movie, and then like the bad part Matt wasn't there, and so she just always thought all of the movies were happy and wonderful, and they're like, "What do you mean?" I think one of them was Old Yeller,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
so
man.
she's like, "Well, yeah, he was fine at the end." They're like, what?
So did you ever see Cujo?
Yeah, I feel like because he does that for his girls too. They don't know. He's like, and I was like, well, when are you planning to, kind of work that in? He's like, when they're a little bit older and they can maybe handle it more. It's like, I wish that I had that too, because yeah, there's a lot of crying for me. It's like some of the Disney movies are brutal.
Yeah.
So
I suppose it does teach kids about death. They need
it
to learn at some point.
does.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I first learned about reincarnation watching RoboCop.
Do you know, we all seen RoboCop as kids, and we shouldn't have.
That's true. That's so true. We all had the toys. Hey, some of us still have like 20-year-old toys.
yeah, that's
Oh,
important.
Yeah, hell
My
yeah.
brothers pulled down all of their original Star Wars
Oh.
toys. They have an original Millennium Falcon. They do have a Boba Fett. Like they have everything. And when I came down right after the Mandalorian started airing, they're like, "Look what we have!" I was like,
Oh
I
man.
remember. Yay!
See the new Millennium Falcon. The Falcon actually has a square antenna on it because in the original trilogy, the circle one was shot off. So this is how you can tell whether your toy is a new Disney or
Okay.
old Lucasfilm.
Original. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
ask her. So he's gonna have to pull everything back down from the attic. But no, I honestly, it's the original stuff because I have an older brother and sister. And there's like quite an age gap between us, so we were super super young, but they went to see everything, so we kind of followed in their footsteps. We didn't really know what was going on, but so because of them, like my brothers became obsessed, even though they were super young. And they got all the toys and, at Christmas time. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
I mean, toys. Have you got any toys of Kuill yet?
Yeah, a friend of mine gave me a gift.
Oh.
And I also have, like, at our wrap party, this
Wow.
one. I think I got this.
That's amazing. Seeing yourself as a pop vinyl, right? We're nicking out his face.
At a rap party, this one artist who really took she became obsessed with the Mandalorian. Her name is Emily Greenfield, and she wrote a Christmas book. It was like Mando's 12 New Friends or whatever, and she had made little stickers. I don't know if you
Oh
can.
wow, I can see that. Yeah, I have spoken. Brilliant.
So she sent me
I have spoken.
I'm starting to develop a nice little collection of fan gifts and stuff. So
Yeah. There's another fella that was in Mandalorian. He played Gecko. His name is Dominic Pace. I don't know if you ever crossed paths with him filming. Yeah, and he has an amazing amount of Gecko figures, toys, and just I thought to myself, how can so much how can there be so much toys and stickers and everything made of just one character? It's unbelievable. And I can imagine that there'll be a lot more up for Kuill. I mean, Baby Yoda probably has everything from pajamas to.
Yep.
I mean, that's taken off, right?
People have masks with Yoda on them. I was like, I want one of those.
Yeah, it really has taken off. And see, for the new wave of Star Wars, that's kind of split between the OG Star Wars fans. You got a lot of them that weren't really into the new Star Wars, but you find the ones that really weren't into the new trilogy love the Mandalorian, because the Mandalorian is so fresh, and I think it's the first Star Wars project without John Williams' score, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know what? The music's still amazing. It's like they take the elements of Star Wars but make it completely new. So it's a new, fresh lick of paint on something that's still very much, you know, that we remember. And I think it is visually is stunning. The story's great. The episodes are short enough to leave you wanting more. And God, see, that is one thing. When it finished, I was like, more. And Bill Burr also. Bill Burr was in Mandalorian.
I know, right? Yeah, that was.
I don't know if you've got to his episode yet.
People are not used to that, like not used to having to wait, especially on a streaming service. Like usually it's out and then you can binge watch. But I kind of like the way that they did it, because then it was something to look forward to every week. So
I enjoyed that.
As well with the making of the Mandalorian that comes out on Monday, May 4th. So
yes,
May the 4th,
yes,
of course.
yes. We should release this episode on May the 4th.
Yeah, we might do that.
We should do that.
right.
Yes, as a treat for everyone. Yeah, May the 4th. I love how that's now Star Wars Day, just because it rhymes with May the 4th.
Yep, May the 4th be with you.
The funny thing is, nobody actually ever says May the 4th. They say the 4th of May or May 4th. Nobody says May the 4th. It doesn't-
I say it.
Yeah, you do. Of course you do.
Just on the one day. Just on.
Yeah.
It has another special meaning now.
I had seen that you had worked on Monster House, which, by the way, happens to be one of my favorite animated movies. So I take it you done a lot of the, what do you call it, the attached balls there, right? It's
CGI. Yeah.
Right. So it's the motion capture.
Motion capture.
Right. So did you play a mix of characters or just the one?
No, really, all that I did on that film was doubling one of the characters, and I ran and I had to jump onto a stair, the balcony, and then like jump onto the first, railing, and I was on wires to the second railing to a chandelier.
Wow.
And that's what I did. Like it wasn't, a whole lot. It was just one day of doing that and trying to time it well with the riggers that were trying to help me, obviously, be able to run and jump onto the railing. So staircase. So
I think I can see the scene as well. It's when the big house comes alive. Rrr. I love that, and I never imagined that they actually used people to capture that motion. I just imagined they would make it like they would make any a computer game or something. Like just I always thought CGI was done on a computer, but it just goes to show how far that kind of stuff's come. Huh?
Oh yeah. It's pretty fun for people to come on the sets at Jim Henson Company, because you are these animated characters in real time. So we're on the floor, but up on these screens that are all around us, 360-degree angle of screens. Wow. The characters are up there streaming. So, and it is it's crazy because it's obviously all of these young, adorable little baby characters. And then, I always do it with my puppeteer just to keep us locked in. We kind of just, screw around and in between takes, stay kind of in character and talk to the other characters and stuff. And as you know, adults suddenly becomes R-rated.
I can imagine.
One part is, obviously that banter and you just laugh all day. And then obviously we have a code word when guests are coming onto the set, which is like blue skies, everybody, blue skies. Suddenly behave.
God,
watch your language. That's got to be for the guests.
It's the whole behave yourself code. Yeah. So what if you could choose any franchise or any movie franchise, any TV show, what would be your ideal role? If someone handed you a a magic lamp tomorrow, you rub it and out pops a genie. It gives you the one role that you would desire most. What would that be?
Oh gosh, I've been saying it, so I might as well just say it out loud. I want to be one of Baby Yoda's Jedi Masters.
Oh wow! So Baby Yoda has Jedi Masters, huh?
I don't know. He obviously uses the Force, and
Yeah.
he's young, so he needs, guidance. He needs Jedi Masters to guide him to learn how to control it, and to not be, obviously pulled towards the dark side. So,
That's
yeah,
amazing,
I would love to be Baby Yoda's one of his Jedi Masters.
Not only that, what you say
Like
one of.
one or Yoda.
Like with regards to that, the Mandalorian itself, like you could imagine they offered you that part where you're a mentor for Baby Yoda. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're stuck just with Mandalorian. You could be in the next, that could translate to the next series of Star Wars movies.
I didn't even think that far.
Right.
Baby Yoda.
They could have you in.
Teach him.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. That would be the moment where I just fainted and.
Yeah. Oh, I wish that would happen. I hope that happened. You know what? I hope it's already happened, and this is just a wee sly spoiler.
No.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I would love that. I think that sounds
I
amazing.
swear.
No, that's good.
Because I was like, what is she saying? But yeah, no spoilers, so.
You should pitch it. You should pitch it to Disney, because I don't think that is a terrible idea. I think that's an awesome idea, because even Yoda needs a mask. That's a great idea. Do you not think?
I say it all the time, at any time, because it's they say it's angel numbers when you happen to be aligned and you see 1111 or whatever, and it's that often, and that's my wish.
Yeah. Well, hey, the law of attraction is a real thing.
Yes,
I
exactly.
think if you will it hard enough, you'll get there. I mean, you're already there.
Started it.
Right? Exactly. So that's going to happen, and you know what? I can't wait to see Baby Yoda's Jedi Master in season 2. That would be great. So for everybody listening at home as well, Misty, you also are a singer as well. You can go to Spotify and check out Misty's music. So is this something you're going to look to pursue again, like in the future on a larger scale, or is it just something you do side by side with the work you do on like the Mandalorian and TV shows? And
it's a work in progress. Yeah, I mean, I love writing songs and recording and making music videos and stuff. I started it obviously super late in life, but so that kind of pulls you out of that category of anyone ever signing you. So I'm an indie artist, so it's one of those things where I just keep creating and keep writing and making music and stuff, and hopefully my ultimate goal is obviously being an artist and an actor, and in film and television. I think one of the most gratifying things is that moment where you see a scene that the writing, the screenwriter, the actor, the scene itself, and the whole of it, and then a song comes on. And it makes that moment, and you feel so much. That's my goal, is to ultimately place, a song or two here and there. And yeah, so yeah. And I mean, I grew up with much older siblings, and my parents have always been drawn to music and they love it. And we kind of didn't realize how connected we are to musicians. I became reunited in 2017 with my relatives from my dad's side of the family, and I discovered that one of my second cousins, Rick Rosas, he was this phenomenal bass player that toured with Neil Young, and there were pictures of him backstage with the Rolling Stones and all these rock stars, and I was just and he passed on quite suddenly in, I believe, 2017, so I never got to meet him. But I also got to see photos of my relatives, and there's this picture, and it's I don't know who they are, but my grandpa is on the wall in a picture behind them, and they've all got guitars. So it's okay, this makes more sense now. Music has been with me and my whole life, and it's just I never really went that direction. My life has been kind of weaving like most people do, but
Mhm.
it seems like there's these moments where, it just, you have these crossroads. And for me, like we're auditioning for Sid the Science Kid with the Henson Company as an actor, but they also asked all of the actresses, do you sing? And I said, sure. No one was like, okay, yeah, why not? It's like, I do, but I was like, not in front of you. They're like, well, why don't you go outside and maybe, think of something and then come back in. And so I did. And the creator of the show was there, and she just remembered my audition, and she's like, what are you doing with your music? And it's like, nothing, because I'm trying to focus, and one career is hard enough to maintain in this business. But she's like, well, why don't I introduce you to the music, producer of the show, and then see what you can, if you guys hit it off, and you can go from there. And so I met him, and he's like, well, do you write? Because, as an independent artist, you have to write your own music and your own songs. Like, I have one. And he's like, okay, come on in, and, you can pitch that, and we'll go from there. And so I did, and it's just one of those leap of faith things. And one song has now turned into 11, and I'm about to pitch my 12th song. So
Oh,
yeah,
good.
it's a passion. So, and I have goals, but I know it'll take a while to get there.
That's just that, isn't it? And J.K. Rowling didn't actually publish any Harry Potter books until she was late into her 30s. There's no such thing as it's too late at all.
Right. Yeah.
Because creativity and passion has no limit. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite bands is Air Supply.
Yeah, you opened for them, right?
Yeah. So, and that was just one of my, goals as an artist, is to just open for them. I've been a fan of theirs since I saw them on TV, again, because my family was watching. I wasn't really paying attention. I was there with everybody, I think probably playing with toys on the floor, but I heard his voice, and it's like, his voice is what made me turn around. Like, who is that? I like the voice. And then, being like 7 years old, I was like, his teeth are so perfect. And,
Yeah. What's your favorite Air Supply song?
all of them. I swear, though, there's one that Graham wrote, but Russell really, I think Making Love Out of Nothing at All is my favorite one, because that's the one that I heard them sing on TV, and so it's just in my heart. But as a songwriter, there's a song that Graham wrote called "I Will Find You," and that one really resonates with me as well, because it isn't about finding another person; it's about finding yourself. So that's
powerful. Air Supply. I listened to a song. They actually done a cover of "The Power of Love," and I really like that. But do you know, "Making Love Out of Nothing at All" was written by Jim Steinman, who is. I love Jim Steinman's music. He wrote for Meatloaf, Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
And you can hear that music straight away. And when I first heard "Making Love Out of Nothing at All," I was like, that's definitely Steinman. For one, Steinman's songs are like 11 minutes long. So I was like, that's definitely.
They're like rock operas.
Yeah, absolutely. Rock opera. Well, it's been great to have you on the show, Misty. So I'll let everybody know they can find you on social media. You can go onto Facebook and search Misty Rosas. Is there any other social media outlets that you'd like everybody to check you out?
It's always fun to go on YouTube. Just type in my name. Like, I have a page there, so if you just type my name in, things should pop up. A lot of videos and music stuff is there. I'm trying during quarantine time to sit down and finish doing my lyric videos for people, because they want to like those. They want to be able to really read and what you're saying. So yeah.
We actually have a guy that could do that for you during quarantine. His name's Seb. He's actually part of our production team when we're filming and stuff. But he'd love to do, because he is chomping at the bits to do anything that comes to editing and stuff. He's just been taken to making visual effects and silly things because he's bored. But you should definitely. I should put you in contact with him. He'd that perfect for you.
My skills are very rudimentary when it comes to trying to edit. I was like, oh, I don't want to put that out because it doesn't look very good.
Ah, no.
Like, okay, I will have to meet up with him then.
yeah. We'll definitely set up a Skype call.
Okay, thank
And
you.
Just before we end this one, Misty, I've got one question. Now, this is only for us because it's only us that can see you. But can you still remember the sign language for Amy want raindrop drink?
Oh my gosh. It's Amy want green drop drink. Something like that.
Thank you.
He's a Congo fan.
Oh yeah, it was it's a guilty pleasure. It's one of these films that I revisit every now and again. It's such good fun. It's such good fun as a film. I remember when it first came out. I was only 11 years old, I think, when it came out, and I remember thinking that's quite scary, and then you watch it when you get a bit older, and it's just fun.
It was crazy. It was one of those, again, another kind of crossroad into where I was and where I ultimately got going, because that was my first job ever, in film and TV. First major type of audition. And I knew nothing, like I hadn't been to school yet for, to prepare to be on camera and stuff. So it was just a crazy crash course, and 1, being on set, 2, being in front of camera, 3, learning how to be what is called a guerrilla artist, because it's the whole thing. So because they trained us for 3 months before we started. So it was a big undertaking, but it changed everything for me. So forever for Congo.
From Congo to the Jedi Master that teaches Baby Yoda.
Yes!
That's the name of the next podcast, right?
Perfect.
You can come back on our podcast anytime.
Absolutely. This is a blast.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much, Misty, and look forward to speaking to you again in the future.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, and stay well. Stay safe, stay inside for a little bit longer. Even when they start releasing everybody, let's try to hang in there.
Try and swerve that one.
Right.
Huge thanks to Misty for coming on this episode with us. May the 4th, who could have timed that better, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's literally no other day that is Star Wars Day.
Yeah, true that. Apart from the day that it gets released, because then everybody's running about dressed as Kylo Ren. Maybe not for the next trilogy, but spoiler.
He's at it again. He's at it again.
Unless it's a prequel. But yeah, absolutely. That was amazing for us to speak to Misty, and we'd love to speak to her again in the future about upcoming projects. And Misty, as she was saying there, is also an artist. She writes her own music, and she really puts her heart and soul into this. So at the end of this episode, which is very soon, we are going to play one of her songs for you guys, and you will find the link to Misty's social media and to her music on Spotify or on YouTube in the description of where you're listening to this episode, be it Podbean, be it where are we, J-Mac? Where
Apple
Spotify.
Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you get podcasts, basically.
Absolutely.
Except Amazon. Except what's her name? Alexa. Alexa still doesn't know who we are.
No, but Alexa doesn't play any podcast. I'll ask them for Joe Rogan's podcast, and she won't play it.
Well, she plays it for me.
Right. Okay.
She does. Says me and Alexa are on like first name terms.
Oh man. See, this has been an absolute pleasure for us, and we hope you guys have enjoyed it just as much as we enjoyed speaking to Misty. Thanks very much for your continued support, guys, and we will see you on our next episode of the Jibber Jabber podcast, which will be a lockdown lore.
Oh yes, it will. And I think the subject has been chosen by our good friend Toddulus. I don't know what that is. Todd.
We should get Todd on to talk about it. He actually seems quite knowledgeable.
We should get to toddle on the Jibber Jabber.
Yes. So if you guys want to hear some scary stuff, the idea of lockdown lore is that while we're all in lockdown, to take your mind off what's going on in the world and how scary it is, we will then scare you with other stuff like lore. Just to take your mind off it. Okay.
Eh, what the fuck not?
Absolutely. So tune in next week, guys, where you will hear some lockdown lore. I, of course, as always, I'm Kevin Wells, and this guy is
I am J-Mac, and stay indoors.
exactly. Now here's a nice tune from Misty, and we will see you next week. Make sure to go ahead and like and share this episode, and follow Misty on all her social media. Absolutely.